what's going on? Tony Crow back in the building. Nicks and Bruises. I got my guy Sim in the building. Uh, yeah, we're gonna do a quick segment, a new segment called Quick Hits. I got Sim. I'm gonna hit him with a couple of questions about off season, get his thoughts, and chop it up real quick. What's good, Sim?
Yeah, let's get it. I'm good, man. How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, I'm just ready to get a little quick one in. I called you up. You said you was with it, so here we go.
Yeah, let's knock it out, man. Let's do it.
So I'm gonna cover a couple questions I went over with the Queen on the crossover.
All right.
So number one was the front office. What do you think is the biggest? And you know what? I'm gonna switch it up. Let's besides point guard, because I think we all know we need a point guard. I think that is in the works already. I think with them scouting Brunson, I think it's pretty. Well, I thought it was a done deal before they was scouting him at the game. You know what I mean? Because of
Mhm.
all the connections. So besides point guard, what do you think is the biggest decision or the biggest thing that they need to do for next season?
Clean up the roster, right? I really think they got to clean up that roster. There's so much glut at that wing position. I think they really need to clean it up, so that there's not so much confusion about who should be playing, who's not playing. It's great to have talent, I think, but when you have too much talent, it can also hurt your team. And I know, like, people say, well, the Knicks ain't got, if the Knicks had too much talent, they'd be winning this or that. I mean, your talent goes to a certain level, right? And the Knicks' talent goes to a certain level right now, so that it's hard for them to get over the top. But then they have so much talent at a certain level that it's difficult for them to get players in. And I think it does hurt the growth of some players, and it hurts the chemistry on your basketball team. So I think they need to clean it up. They can collapse some of those contracts into one contract, whether that's for a point guard or for some other position. So I think that's one of the big things they've got to do. And then of course they got to figure out what's going on with Mitch, and see what happens with Mitch. If you're going to keep Mitch, do you want to have another center off your bench that's just like Mitch, or do you want to have someone that could spread the floor and do some things offensively, to help open up your offense? So I think that's another big decision that they've got to make besides that point guard spot. Um, and then I think, having a heart to heart with Julius Randle, I think that's a big one.
And
Yeah.
before you even elaborate, because I have a question about Randall, I'm gonna end with it, and,
Mhm.
and, and so I don't want you to potentially answer that question, before I ask it.
Right.
Salute to the chat, Keith. I see you. Sanga, salute. Appreciate you guys. Shot Powers, I see you. Um, you know, let me ask you this about the glut in particular. Cleaning up the roster. Um, do you think there's a fine line where they could potentially over clean, remove too much? Like, all right, if we get Brunson, it has to be a sign and trade, right? That's the only way to do it.
Right. There's got to be a sign and trade. Exactly.
Um, so I would assume either two players are being moved in that sign and trade. Most likely two of those like 10 million contracts that
Hmm.
are expiring, or it's a double sign and trade with Mitch.
Uh,
Um, I don't think if it is Mitch, that doesn't help the glut, obviously. Um, if it is two of those expiring guys, who do you think? Who would you prefer?
Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel. And it's nothing against Alec Burks. I just think Alec Burks, if you bring in Jalen Brunson, you don't need Alec Burks because you got Emmanuel quickly, you got Derrick Rose. It opens up room. I mean, you got Quentin Grimes, Alec Burks, and Cam Reddish all fighting for the basically the same spot in that second unit.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think you help clear it out a little bit by moving Alec Burks, right? And then with Nerlens Noel, you move Nerlens Noel. It makes room for either Jericho Sims or another shooting center. I don't know if they'd want Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel. You know what I mean? I mean, they might, they might be
I
considering
think
Nerlens.
I think they would be useful. I think they would definitely take Burks, and Nerlens was there already, right?
Right. He used to play for them.
So I could see them. I mean, it would be either a clear yes or a clear no. Like, we had you before, we know who you are, no, or we could use your skill set and we are very familiar with who you are.
Right.
We'll take you.
Right.
Um,
At least the front office and things would be familiar with him. I don't know about the coaching staff and the players,
and
but
the
the front
players, yep,
office,
yep.
or Mark Cuban and those guys, right? They might be used to him and
But
understand.
I can see that definitely does help a lot. I'm a big fan of Burks. I really like. I'm kind of torn in preferring uh Fournier be moved
Now, okay.
than Burks.
But see, if you move Fournier, then it's just Fournier,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
If you're talking about the Mavs, but I don't know if they have a need for Fournier. When you look at their team,
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
I get it,
you
and
got Tim Hardaway. Um, you got Tim Hardaway. I mean, they got some guys that are shooters, and play his style already. Now, if they're not, I don't want to say they're getting rid of, but if Jalen Brunson is no longer there, obviously, Spencer Dinwiddie, can step up and play that point guard spot. Luka's going to play point guard, but you're missing a guard that kind of handles the ball and can do some things off the ball. And I think Alec Burks can step in, not be their starter in that position. You would probably already have Spencer Dinwiddie or someone, but fill in that role a little bit too. I don't know if Evan Fournier does.
I agree. I agree. Um, what do you think of? Because I've been reading this. I don't know if it's possible. I think, obviously, I know your answer, but moving Kemba to the Lakers, right?
Mhm.
They have a trade exception that's like $10 million that they could trade with us, and then using the trade exception in the trade for Brunson to kind of eat up some of that salary in the sign and trade, and then potentially just making up the rest
With just like
eh,
one player.
or just one player.
Um, I,
Obviously, we still got to make some other moves, because the reason I don't want to move Burks in that particular trade is because I feel like Burks could get us a first round pick to a contender, um
okay.
at the deadline. I believe that, um and if not, I think, he's more valuable as an independent trade piece, I think, than including him in a package, especially if that package is not for a superstar. You know what I mean? Because I think he would be more valuable in a package for a superstar, knowing they're getting a more versatile guy back
Right.
than, and a guy who's gonna play whatever role, position, task you ask of him. You know what I mean? No argument. No, you know what I mean? He's just gonna do his job, whatever you
I
ask.
mean,
So,
if one, I don't think I see someone in the chat said, something about Kemba. The Knicks would have to clean up more than just Burks, which I agree. Uh, I don't think Kemba's even an issue. Even if he's with the Knicks, I don't think he's gonna play next
yeah,
season.
I agree. I
So I don't
definitely
think
agree.
I'm not even including him in the roster. right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm only looking at that trade exception from
right.
from the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like otherwise, I'm not really talking.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
with you too. Like
yeah.
I don't think he's here, and if he is, he's not going to be here.
Exactly, exactly. So if the Knicks can move him, yeah, do it. You know what I mean? If you can move them and clear up some space so that you're able to only get rid of one player or get rid of one player to bring in Jalen Brunson and then be able to use those other players for something else.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah, by all means, definitely. Would the Lakers want Kemba? That's my only question. Would
I
they want?
mean, I read it somewhere. I don't think anybody really wants to, but so
It's
I
sad.
don't know, but
Yeah, Kemba's gonna be the next person on your intro. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's
I
sad.
honestly, I have all the ideas of what I want to do. I'm gonna make an intro, or maybe it'll be an outro, but it's just gonna be this year because that
Yeah,
there's so much stuff that we
so much.
went through.
Yeah, it's been a crazy, crazy, wow, crazy year. You know what I mean? Um, I think the Knicks are going to definitely pursue Jalen Brunson.
I agree.
I
I'm
think,
almost
yeah,
already counting him as part of the roster, and
right,
in that sense, my
yeah.
next question is, what do you think of moving Rose to a destination of his liking if that team wants him? I spoke with man, I can't remember his name. The Bulls fan who frequents our chats. Um,
Yeah, I know
and
what you're talking about. I can't think of
I'm
his name.
sorry, I
Mhm.
can't remember your name, bro. But I spoke with him and asked him about you know, the Bulls wanting Rose. You know what I mean? Would you
I
trade
think
for
they
him?
would. I think they
I
would.
I agree. I agree that they
They
would
would.
as well, and the asking price is not necessarily anything that you guys don't. You know what I mean? Like we're not asking for much. It's really to appease him, appease you, and now we can negotiate from there as far as what you want to get back. I'm not counting on what we're getting back from him. It could be 2 seconds. You know what I mean? It could be whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's really to clear up that point
Roster.
guard position,
Yeah.
and because I really do like IQ at the point,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the fact that he could play the point and he literally played it so much this year, I don't know if people are realizing it, but that opened up space for Grimes. That opened up space for Cam. That you know what I mean. That cleared some of the glut that we that we had. The fact that he was playing the one the
Right.
majority
Right.
of the time. So and I love Rose. I think you said that's your favorite Nick right now, favorite player on
Yeah.
the team.
He's my favorite player right now.
But at the same time, the best ability is availability,
Exactly.
and you haven't been here for us the majority of this year.
Right.
You're only getting older. You know what I mean. Love what you do as a mentor. You know what I mean, as a vet. But I wouldn't mind moving on from him and letting IQ mind that backup spot, which again in turns opens up the two spot for more guys at that
Yeah.
position.
I mean, if you end up moving Rose and Burks,
I think we're pretty set
now
there.
you got Quickly, Grimes, uh, um, Cam,
Cam,
Bogey, and then whoever's going to be at the five. You know what I'm saying?
and and
And,
and,
you know,
and you know what else that
Bur-
does? That opens up my next question or comment to you is the draft pick,
right.
because I I haven't scouted too many players. I haven't done a deep dive. I did a little bit, but I really don't think that we're gonna keep that pick. I think we're gonna either package it in some trade to get a future pick somewhere down the line. Um, we're gonna include it in a trade that brings us a player of value that we want, whether it's a blockbuster or just a smaller trade,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even a Miles Turner if we do let Mitch walk. But I I don't know how
Right.
the timeline goes, but if we know he's gone, maybe it's a Miles Turner.
I mean, I would. So if you're doing Miles Turner, right, what's he make? 18 million, right? So I guess you would have to sign Mitch and then trade him for Miles Turner along with the pick. If you think he's worth that. I mean, if you had a lineup of Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, Miles Turner, that could be a pretty formidable lineup right there. And then off the bench, you got IQ, Quentin Grimes, Cam Reddish,
And
Obi
Obi,
Toppin, and then now you could keep Nerlens Noel at the backup center, right? Because you have a guy who can shoot in Miles Turner, and then Nerlens Noel can come in and still keep that defensive, still be able to block shots and do those things. So you still got two shot blocking centers coming off, in either one of your lineups. Now if and then you got if Nerlens Noel breaks down, which he will, you got Jericho Sims that can come in and he can give you some productive minutes. Or maybe Jericho Sims gets the minutes over Nerlens Noel, and
hmm
Nerlens Noel is situational. You know what I'm saying? Um, that could be a pretty that could be a strong lineup. That could be a strong squad because you got, a nice young veteran team and your starting group. Jalen Brunson, 25. RJ Barrett, 21. Evan Fournier would be, 28 or 29. Julius Randle, 27. Miles Turner, like 25 or 26.
right.
Right. So that's a lineup of young vets with RJ being the youngest, right? Lineup of young vets. And then off your bench, you'd have IQ, who would be in his third year, Grimes, who would be in his second year, Obi, who would be in his third year,
Cam in his
Cam
fourth
would be in
or
his
fifth,
fourth year. Fourth
fourth
year.
project. Yep.
You know what I mean? So, you'd have a young group there. And then if Jericho Sims was playing, he'd be in his um
Second.
second year. As a matter of fact, a lineup like that, you would have nobody over 30 years old in your top 10 players if you had that kind of a lineup. Even if you have Nerlens Noel in the lineup instead of Jericho Sims, Nerlens Noel is still only 27 years old.
Now let me ask you this. At that point, the roster is pretty much done, right? Like this is the team, and
Mhm.
it's about where are we and where are we projected? How much better can the team get year after year?
Right. Right. That's the team. And then you're looking to see, can they grow together over a couple of years?
That
Which
particular roster, are you saying they're playoff, they're top six
I
in the
think so.
East?
I think that's a playoff team because I think Miles Turner brings something different, right? He can post up and score. He can also shoot it from the outside. So that adds something to your offense.
And
You
a
got point
defense.
and
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 he
and he can play defense. Your point guard is able to, he's a guy that can settle the team down. He can score when you need him to score. He can be that steady hand out there. I think he can be that. And then off the bench, you got guys like Quickly, Cam, Grimes, who can score the basketball, Obi, who can give you some, exciting plays off the bench. And then hopefully you still got a guy that can block shots.
at that point, yeah, I think we would need Noel, and I think we would need him off the bench for sure to kind
Yeah.
of solidify that backline defense at the very least. I think that would be the only question. How good can we be defensively off the bench? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because IQ would have to continue his progression. I like what we saw from
Grimes.
him this year defensively. Grimes is pretty good defensively right out the gate. Cam has the defensive potential at the very least, but right now is at least good in passing lanes and things of that nature.
Right.
Actually, I think that second unit's defense,
It,
it's
it could be
pretty solid,
it could be
like
good.
pretty solid.
The
It's
one
very
thing I would worry about with that second unit would be rebounding. I'd be a little bit concerned about rebounding. I
mm,
think Cam would have to help out on the boards. You would definitely need Obi to go out there and grab boards.
hmm
Jonas Noel doesn't rebound, so
yeah,
here's where you have to figure: do we go with can Jericho Sims block enough shots
because he can rebound.
in
Yeah,
the rim, so that he can be out there because he can rebound the ball.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
But that could be. But now here's the thing: you gave up your draft pick, right? You gave up your draft pick. You moved out some vets. Now at the end of the bench, you need some emergency guys,
I mean, we have Deuce
right? You'd have Deuce, and you'd have either
and
Nerlens Noel or Jericho.
or Jericho. Yeah, and
You would need some emergency wings, I think. Out
that's we clear them out, bro. Now
right.
I mean, it's true though because at this point we're mad if Cam is an emergency wing, right? We're
Right.
we I think Burks earned enough to where he shouldn't be an emergency player. Like you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
he's an emergency like on the court, not emergency or you
Right.
know
And
Fournier
Rose shouldn't be in.
18 million is not emergency.
Right. So
So
yeah,
we gotta find a player, emergency player, but he gotta be good enough to
to
still
produce.
to produce, you know what I mean?
So
But not acclaimed enough to where he
he
shouldn't
gotta
be
play.
emergency.
Right. You know what I mean? So,
I
so
mean,
right. So you got to find some guys, some veteran minimum guys, maybe.
and a
That can
second
come in.
round pick we'll have, right?
Right. Yep. Second round pick. So you'd have to find some guys that can come in and be willing to, sit the bench, play when they're asked to play.
Now, in that second unit, if one of those guys had to be emergency, who would it be?
Out of the wings,
Yeah, you're
I don't,
gonna like where I'm going. Don't
I don't know.
worry.
I don't know. I don't know. Um, Depends on who you're bringing in
I'm gonna tell you,
and what position they play. You know what I mean?
your guy T. Russ.
All right. Okay. So if they brought in T. Ross, damn, who would be emergency? That's a tough one. It would probably
It has to be Grimes
it would be Grimes or
or
Cam.
Cam.
It'd be one of them two, Grimes or
Yep,
Cam.
yep.
Yep.
And actually, at this point, it's probably Cam because
Yeah.
gr-
Unless he gets into training camp and just balls out. If he gets into training camp and balls out, what can you do? You know what I mean? We can't forget about Taj. Taj is going to be an emergency power forward out there too, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
Taj is
Oh
still
yeah, yep,
he
yep,
makes
yep.
$5 million next year, so
That's
he's an
right.
emergency
That's
power
right.
forward,
So yeah, it would be the wing that we need
right?
because
Because
we
you would
got
have the
Deuce, we got
emergency
a
center.
4, we got a 5. Yeah,
Yep. Yep,
it
it
would
would
have to
be
be
those
a
two
2-3 guy.
the 2 threes that you would need who are emergency. I don't know who. You know what I mean?
The good thing is I think Cam can play 2 or 3. I think see that's why Cam is more valuable to Deuce because he could play 2 or 3.
Right,
You know what I mean? Depending on the like the
right.
position of
But
need, he
but
could fill in
yeah,
both.
but see, this is what I was saying earlier when you clean up your roster, right? This is you wanna have players, you wanna have good players, but you gotta have players at the end of your bench, that, 11 through 15 who don't mind sitting or understand and know that they've gotta sit. Right? And the fans, well, and I'm not going to say that this team didn't have players that knew that they had to sit. I think Miles McBride knew. I think Jericho Sims knew. I think those guys were probably like, I get it. I'm a rookie. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to get burned like that. You know, for the fans' sake, I guess you got to have guys that they don't care about. You know what I mean? for the fans' sake. Luckily, the front office ain't listening to the fans. But so if you might bring in a second round pick that you like. Um, or if you do have a first round pick, you might bring in a first round pick that's hanging down there somewhere. Um, so yeah, you'd have to fill it in. You'd have to fill it in with some people that can help you in case of an emergency.
All right. I'm gonna hold on to this one. I think I really do I like this idea of especially if Mitch is gone, bringing in a Miles Turner, pursuing him, giving up a pick for it,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, and I see what Jay Boogie said in the chat. Just because
I
T.
was just
Ross
about to
killed the
highlight it
Knicks,
too.
don't mean that he can kill for the Knicks. And I kind of disagree. I think he would kill for the Knicks, to be honest with you. I think that he has the type of tenacity that is going to come out even more under Tom Thibodeau.
The reason I believe in him is I seen the clip of his little interview, and he's hungry right now.
Yeah,
He's hungry right now, and he's tired of losing.
yeah. I think T. Ross would be real nice with the Knicks.
So whenever a player comes out and he said it like respectfully, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't even no disrespect the way he said it, but basically you know what I mean. I'm paraphrasing. He's tired of losing,
Right.
and it might be time to move on and find, you know what I mean, a winning situation. The only question is, does he think we could be that?
Right. And then of course, now you're creating that glut again because
Yeah.
that's the only thing, you're creating that glut again because he has to play.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? He's been in the league. He's been in the league long. He's shown that he can be productive in the league. He's gonna play. You know what I mean? So if you bring in T. Ross, now you're creating that glut once again,
What's
instead of rocking with Cam and Grimes. You know what I mean?
I,
So
I,
that
I
that
wish
makes it difficult.
I wish they'd take Fournier back.
I mean, I actually like what Fournier can bring though.
I, 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 I
Outside of what Ross, because he's like a straight up shooter, where Ross is gonna have to handle the ball, and go to the rock.
spurts.
I mean, he can do he can come off screens, he can catch a
Yeah,
shot,
and
he
I
can
think I
post
think that's
himself.
the difference, though. I think he can do both, and I think it's about, like, you've never seen him soak in Orlando. You never seen him complain. You know what I mean? And his role has switched. It's not even like he's been a high usage guy for them. It's except for like when they need him to. You know what I mean? But it's not like he just comes in and lights it up. He comes in off the bench and plays a role in the bench.
Mm-hmm.
But when his role is to score, he'll light you up too.
Yeah.
So I think he if his role is, hey, you gotta come off screens and catch and shoot, I think he could do that too.
Right. Yeah.
Um
Yeah. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this Dallas and Utah game while we're talking. And right now Dallas is up by 3 with 6 minutes left in the fourth. Man, if Dallas eliminates Utah, two things, two things happen here. Two things happen here, right? If Dallas eliminates Utah, one, Jalen Brunson's price goes way up. You know what I mean? Because he's basically, obviously not every game, but he's leading the way,
Here's the thing, Sam.
right?
I don't think his I think you're right, his value goes up, but I don't think his price goes up because I think he was questionably overpricing himself. I think if he's
Okay.
playing like I think he's playing himself into that 20 million a year. You know what I mean? I don't think he's gonna price himself over that.
That could be true. That could be true. Um, right now I'm trying to see exactly what he has right now. For whatever reason, NBA.com isn't updating correctly for that game. He had 15 points at the half. I'm not sure what he has right now.
Okay. I mean,
And,
I'm not saying he can't.
and he was leading them in scoring at the half, but for
Mm.
whatever reason, it's just not updating correctly. I don't know why. It don't make no sense.
Um,
Uh, and I don't know what it's doing.
all right, when you
But
get it, you can let us know. I had another question for you. What the hell was it? Um, all right, we're gonna pick two players. We're gonna talk about them individually,
okay,
right?
25 points, 5 assists for Jalen Brunson,
Okay,
leading the
okay.
team scoring again. And
Probably no turnover either, right? Because
let me see, he has no turnovers.
I know. That's the one thing I do love about him. That's the one thing I do love about him.
And
And
Donovan
and,
Mitchell,
and
26 points, 5 assists,
probably three turnovers.
two turnovers, two
two,
turnovers.
two, okay.
Yep. But I mean that Jalen Brunson is I mean, he's leading them right now. You know what I'm saying? As the leader, the scoring leader, the leader.
I, I can't. Hey, he's proven it to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's taking away some of the questions I had. But even with my questions, I felt like he was going to be here because the writing's on the wall. You know what I mean? There's too many connections, too many links. All right, I want you to pick two players.
Mm-hmm.
You any two players, and then tell me what this player has to do individually for for the team to take the next step. So what is the player going to have to do for the team to take the next step? And this is assuming you can't use Mitch because I don't know if he's going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Um or we really don't know if anybody's going to be here, but I'm assuming Mitch is going. I'll keep telling myself that so I'm not disappointed when it happens.
Right, right.
So, don't use Mitch, but you could choose any players you want. One at a time, and one doesn't have to coordinate with the other. You know what I mean? So, it's not both these players have to do this for us to make the next level. No, it's if this person does this, we could get to the next level, and then
I mean, I'm really going with Randall and RJ, assuming that they're both on the team. I think, with Julius Randle has to one, get his attitude together. We all know that. But basketball wise, I think he has to learn to he's yeah, some parts of the game has to slow down for him, right? So I think he has to learn how to think the game better. That's the bet that is his next step to becoming, uh, you know, uh,
perennial All Star.
yeah, yep, going from a good basketball player and a all star this year, not an all star, then another all star. You know what I mean? To being a perennial all star is playing the game a little bit slower. Is seeing and maybe he can't do this, but seeing things before it happens. You know what I mean? And when the game starts to slow down to you, that's when you start to see things before it happens. You notice where certain players are defensively. So you're like, if I make this pass, this player is going to do this, and then bam, that's going to be open, right? So figuring out how to make that game slow down for himself, watching tons and tons of film is one way to do it. Looking back at things that you did last year, how people defended you, how people defended the team, and then figuring out, okay, what will I do in the event that this happens or that happens? You know what I mean? So I think that's such a big part of his basketball game, what's happening upstairs with him. And if he's able to, learn how to think the game, I don't want him just thinking. I want him to play off of instinct. But if he can learn how to make the right decisions off of instinct, uh, then his game goes up to another level. And I think we've seen it last year when his game is playing at a higher level, it's going to help everyone play at a higher level. You know what I mean? Um, so I think that's the big thing for him. It's not a lot that he's gonna do as far as I think his handle is pretty good. The reason why he turns it over sometimes is because he gets himself in situations, right, on the court. So I think his handle is good. He's got the speed. He's never going to be a super duper high jumper. So we're not gonna depend on him to do those things to do that. Um, I think he can work on getting a smoother pull up jump shot. You know what I mean? So he can be more efficient at making that shot. But I think it's really upstairs for him. And if he can get it together upstairs, let the game come to him a little bit more, learn, to force it when he needs to force it, just those type of things. And I think part of the reason why he doesn't know all of those things is because he's only been in his position as
Mhm.
a lead guy for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's been the entire 8 years that he's been in the league, or even 6 of those years. It's been 2. So hopefully he can take the next level upstairs. Um, and then RJ, you know what I mean?
Wait, before you get into RJ,
Mhm.
because you kind of segued into Randall, so it's really a quick question. Do you think Randall needs to do something? Do you think there's something Randall can do to mend this feud with the fans, or do you believe winning cures all, or it don't matter if we're winning is and there's nothing he could do?
It's a tough situation with the fans. I feel like I said before, he needed to and should have addressed the fans. You know what I mean? Just saying, hey, look, it was a rough season. I made some mistakes, blah blah blah. I'm coming back better. You know what I mean? I think he should have done that, but I still do think, after the summer, if he comes in and he's playing hard and he's playing well, that the fans will forgive him, especially if the Knicks are winning. Now, it may be as soon as he makes a couple of mistakes, they start to go off, but it's going to be for him to, ignore it and continue to just play. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that this year was really a big learning year for him.
And it does worry me that it seems that he's pretty close with KD,
Hmm.
and I don't know if that's the guy he's getting some of the advice. You know what I mean? Like, or even if it's not even advice, but if they conversating on what's going on around them in this market, they may be bouncing things off each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
And this is all speculation or whatever in my head, but I'd much rather him speak with a guy like Melo to get the do's and don'ts and how you know he'll give you all the understanding because he's been through it,
Right.
but he may be able to tell you how to suppress some of those them feelings.
Right.
And it floors up yours on RJ.
Yeah. Um, nah, definitely. You know what I mean? He needs to talk with someone, and Melo would be the perfect guy. Talk with someone that can, help him through it. Learn how to deal with it. Or maybe this was the learning year, and he's like, and he's taking it in like, you know what? All right, this is how I'm going to approach it next year. You know what I mean? Learning and growing is ugly. You know what I'm saying? You
Take
know,
your
half
lumps.
listen, half of y'all out there, I'm not trying to offend nobody, but half of y'all out there, go look at some of your kids' real little baby pictures, man. Some of them kids was ugly. They grew up to be pretty. I look at my little brother, my youngest brother, man. His baby picture was ugly. Had a big giant head. I mean, now the ladies won't stay away from him. So sometimes that growth is ugly, bro. Like when you're a teenager, your feet too big. You know what I mean? You don't got no balance, like all kinds of wild stuff going on. You look back at yourself at a teenager, you're like, dang, look what I was looking like. You know what I mean? Growth is ugly, man. Growth is ugly. Sometimes you got to
Shit,
go
all
through.
aspects of it too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
growth is ugly, bro. Look at
Go look at some of the clothes we was wearing
right.
15 years ago or whatever the case.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot of
yo,
people don't understand that, and they think that he's all grown up already, and he's not. You know, literally next year he's just entering his prime. If your prime is from 28 to 32, what I mean? You're just entering your prime. Some people say 33 or 34. I'm gonna say 32, right?
I say 32 is peak.
Yeah, that might be your peak. You know what I mean? So like he's 27. So you would think next year he's just entering his prime, and you're still learning. Your prime is when your basketball knowledge meets at an equal level with your physical abilities, right?
So if he learned from it, if he learned from this past year, he should be a
Yeah,
monster, right?
and you know how I learned that is how I don't want to say how I learned it, how I really understood it is as I got older, I understand the game so much better. And I can see things on the court happening that I never could see when I was 18 years old, right? But now I don't always have the physical ability to capitalize on those things. Someone like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, guys like that, they saw these things when they were at their physical peak. And that's why they're so great. You know
And
what I
some
mean?
like LeBron saw it even before they peaked.
Even before that. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like when that basketball knowledge meets that it meets at a peak of your physical
Physical.
abilities, that's when you're in your prime. And your basketball knowledge is going to continue to grow, but your physical abilities are going to drop. So some of these great players have this beyond normal basketball IQ, and then they have the physical ability. I mean, you have so many of these guys that have the same talent as Michael Jordan, right? The same talent as KD, but they don't have this, and understand how to actually use that talent the way that those guys do. You know what I mean? And some of them don't get it until they get older, like, and they don't have the physical abilities anymore. So hopefully Julius Randle, and I'm not saying he's ever going to be like KD, but he gets enough knowledge, at the same time that he still has this physical ability to be able to, you know, really play well. And this goes back to something that I say all the time. A really, really good basketball team doesn't always got to have three Hall of Famers, bona fide Hall of Famers. You just got to have guys that for a good 3 to 4 year stretch are playing like Hall of Famers. You know what I'm saying? Like DeMar DeRozan hasn't been a Hall of Fame guy for his whole career, but right now he's playing like a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? Like he's playing like a top 75 guy, ever in the league or something like that. That's what he's playing like right now. So a good basketball team, if you can get a collection of players that are playing at that level for 3, 4 years, then you can have a really good basketball team. You know what I mean? And how do you do that? I think the Knicks are on track to do that. You get some guys that are not in their prime yet. You're hoping that they're going to bud. And then when they get, 28, 29, 30 years old, now they're in their prime. And you got a bunch of guys that are in their prime together. And they may not have been Hall of Fame numbers for their entire career, but for this 3 or 4 year span, they're playing like they're some of the greats. And then it's going to tail off. You know what I'm saying? But for that 3 or 4 year span, if you can get them playing together, you can put together a really good team.
And you know what, son? That's why it's smart to have those vets that are going into their prime with
Mm-hmm.
young guys that by the time these guys are out of their prime, the young guys will be just entering their primes.
Right.
So you got to mix it up. You can't have everybody. You can't have the whole roster. You know what I mean? 21 years old, or you know what I mean, or 23 years old and younger, because one, you're waiting for all of them to reach their prime, and then they all gonna be out of their prime at the same time, and then you're stuck. You got to mix it up.
Right. Right. So
RJ, and then we out of here.
RJ Barrett, man. There's a lot that RJ has to work on. Right? A lot that he has to work on to continue to grow and develop. And it should be that he has a lot because he's just a young guy in the league. But for this team specifically for next year, I think I think knocking down that mid-range shot consistently, I think is important for him, right? And we've seen him do it more at the end of the season. I think getting his handle even tighter, getting his handle tight, so that he can be one of your primary ball handlers out there on the floor when necessary. It's going to help him to be able to create for others. You know what I mean? Just getting the speed with his dribble. He's good at getting downhill now, in the half court set, being able to use his dribble, to help clear room for himself. His dribble and his footwork to help clear room and make space for himself so he can get off a cleaner mid-range jump shot, or so he can use his craftiness to get to the basket. Right now, you don't see many faked or dribble fakes or body fakes with RJ Barrett. Is literally, I'm getting the ball from this handoff and I'm finding a way to get to the basket. So if he can start to add some of that craftiness to his game, I think is going to help him out a lot. And also getting in the paint and spraying it out, I think can help him too.
RJ was my pick as well, and my answers was I kept it as simple as this. I said he don't have to be 50, 40, 90, but give me 45, 35, and 80, and I think if you could give me those three numbers,
Mm-hmm.
I think he could be exactly the same, but give me those numbers and he's gonna pop.
Okay.
He's gonna pop. I think he'd average 25 or more with just with just those percentages. 35. I'm sorry, 45, 35, and 80.
Yeah, definitely that free throw shooting.
Yeah, I take 85. I think I started with 85 and Queen was like 85. All right. All right. Give me 80. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely that free throw shooting, man.
And I said, I said, give me 80, but give me 85 down the stretch. You know what I mean? Last 5 minutes of the game, you gotta be 85. You know what I mean? I want 90, but
Yeah,
so
because he's gonna get to the line a lot. He's gonna get to the line a lot.
he
So
already does.
right,
You know what I mean? He's already in a pretty high percentile.
yeah,
And the problem is the misses. I think if he shot, he might have been at 22, 23 if he shot,
if he
you
shot
know what I mean?
80%, yeah,
Shot 80%.
yeah, yeah, man.
So
Dallas is beating Utah, man. It's 11.9 seconds left. Dallas is up 124 to 118, and I
okay,
believe Jalen Brunson has at least 30.
okay. All right, he's showing out.
Yeah,
And the 40-point game wasn't the game the Knicks was at, right? It was the first game. They was at the first game, right?
I was told that they were at the second game too. And
Oh, okay.
that's what the queen said, that she believed that they were there as well. So
All right.
they might have been. I don't know.
Let me
And
find
he's got
out.
31 points and 5 assists. Shot 12 for 22 from the field. He didn't even make a three. He was 0 for 4 from the 3-point line.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. All right. I'm already accepting that Mitch is gone, and I'm already accepting that Brunson is here. And
Here's the only other thing. Okay, Brunson is a free agent, right? What if Dallas eliminates Utah and Donovan Mitchell shakes loose?
we have enough for both.
You would want both of them?
Why not?
You're gonna start both of them?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
That's undersized.
6'1". They
That's
both
yeah. That's
6'1". They
that's
really
well. Obviously, if I'm choosing, that's the thing. All right. If because I know it's gonna happen. If that's the case, all right. See, all right. This is what has to happen.
Mhm.
Donovan has to ask out immediately.
Right.
immediately. You know what I mean? It can't be no lollygagging and it's the off season now beginning it, because I think Brunson's gonna want to get his deal done quick.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
I think if we're getting Brunson, we're gonna need to get it done quick, because we don't need him shopping around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I actually think if the Knicks are getting Brunson,
It's immediately, right?
I think the deal is. I don't want to. Obviously, it's not done. I think there's some parameters already out there.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? I think they've already had discussions about it because
I agree.
when you look at the Mavericks salary cap and all of that stuff, they know it's going to be tough to sign Brunson. And I mean, they're already $30 million over next year's cap already, and it hasn't even next year's cap is projected at 122, and their salary is 151
Mm,
for next year. So they're already $30 million over. So they know it's going to be tough, and that's without Brunson. So it's going to be tough to sign Brunson now. Even if you do a sign and trade, though, you're still bringing back that salary. So
that's why we need to try to get that trade exception. Even if it's Burks, I'll do Burks for the trade
right,
exception.
so
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
you
Get
know what I
that
mean.
trade
So
exception.
that does make it where either way they could sign him and keep him because they're going to be that much over anyway. So they may not care, or if they sign him and trade him,
Mm.
they're still going to bring back salary that's going to make them over.
Well, here's the
You with me?
thing. That's why our expiring contracts may be more valuable to them as well,
Well,
because
it would be more valuable not for next season, but for the season after.
not but both, because they're movable, where now they can move them again.
Right. But they're gonna have to pay that salary's in the books for next year. The time for them to do that was at the deadline to get someone who expired this season.
No. I get what you're saying. I'm saying they could move a Burks for the exception. They could do it themselves.
Oh, oh,
You know what I mean?
oh,
Like
right.
they
That's
could
what
they
yeah,
could
yeah,
move them
they can do that.
in that sense, because a lot of these exceptions, they expire, so they have to be used by a certain time anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, so it could still be difficult for the Knicks, with Brunson. Um, but I mean, who do you take? I mean, you go for Donovan or you go for Brunson if Donovan was available? But
Oh, I mean, Donovan's going to cost a lot more,
yeah,
and
he's already under contract,
obviously
man.
we got parameters. Like, I'm not including RJ. Um, I prefer not to include Randall as well, but if it takes Randall, obviously I'm for it. But I don't know.
I mean, Donovan Mitchell is under contract till 2026 already.
Yeah, 26. Yeah, I do it.
Yeah, and it's not a crazy contract. He makes 30 million, 32 million, 34 million, and then 37 million in 25, 26. So it's not like crazy.
Here's the thing. Let me ask you this: if we get Donovan, are we having him play the point?
I mean, I don't know.
Because remember, Utah brought in the point guard just
Right,
so he could, get more offensive
right,
looks.
right. I mean,
Now we have RJ that could bring the ball up and kind of let
yeah,
him play a little off ball. We got quickly that could come in and play with him in spurts or whatever, but that still leaves us with two undersized guys as well.
right. I mean,
And,
it definitely poses an issue because you got to figure out, who's going to run your point guard spot. Uh,
mm, I
the
guess we got.
The
Uh,
Utah Jazz, they're another team. They $153 million in 2000 next season. Already committed. 153 million already committed.
and how much he makes next year?
He makes 30
It
million
kicks
next year.
it kicks in next year, right?
Yep.
Um,
I mean, for either here's the thing though, for either player that you traded for, you would still help the Dallas Mavericks clear salary cap, just not next season.
mhm.
It would be the season after that they clear the cap space. You know what I'm saying? because next season Burks and Nerlens Noel, those contracts would expire.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then, but Jalen Brunson would still have 2 or 3 more seasons to go on his contract. You know what I'm saying? So you would still help them to clear cap space for the following season.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, I mean, yeah, because even the following season.
Now I'm thinking Nerlens is definitely in there. And they probably shut him down after a certain point. Like, nah,
could be.
you already be injured too much.
Right.
Like, we ain't risking nothing else.
Yeah. Now, see 2023, 2024. That's the year where they can. So next season they're on the books, right? They're on the books next season, $151 million. So even if they did a sign and trade, and you gave up 2 players that expired, the Knicks gave up 2 players that expire in 2023. Then in 2024, 2023, 2024, they're at 117 million, a little bit under what that projected salary cap would probably be. And then there's only 10 million guaranteed to Spencer Dinwiddie in 23-24. So they could actually waive him and they could save another.
And that probably helps them pursue somebody of interest.
Right. So they could save another 8 million. They could waive Reggie Bullock and save, save another 5 million. Right. So they could literally get that down to like $104 million. You know what I mean? And then have $20 million or whatever in cap space. So, 2023 would be the year that they could really 23-24 would be the year that they could do something. And that's the year that everyone's really going to have space.
Yeah. And the best free agency class, right?
Right. And they would still have, players. So, yeah.
So I think it's a done deal. I think it's a done deal.
We'll see. They might have, maybe that's the reason why they were in Dallas. They would, maybe they was working out those parameters. So as soon as free agency hits, bam, 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 it's done. Never know.
Hope so.
I hope so.
All right. But appreciate you, Sim, man. Thanks for jumping on with me. I think I'm gonna keep doing a segment like this. Get a couple guess quick hits.
Anthony D. Look at Anthony D. And Joe, we got podcasters trying to hold on to Randle. Why you mad at us?
Hey, I'm mad
at us. Just
I don't make the decisions.
Yeah, talk to Leon.
And
I mean, y'all, some of y'all act like we got Leon's phone number and calling him up, giving him advice.
That is not the case. I'm just a realist and know that there's a possibility he's gonna be here. So if he's here, I do want him to play well. I want him to do well.
Exactly.
Help us win.
Exactly.
So it's about. But soon, appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
The chat, I appreciate you guys for real. Shout out to you guys, and your Black is Time. Catch you next time.
Peace.